There are so many reasons to spend time with God, and one of them is because when we receive the fountain of his life, we see light. In this short video, I'm going to share a testimony about that very thing, actually a few testimonies. And at the end of this video, I'm going to link to another one where I share a story from the Bible, another personal story, and lead you in a time of meditation on this very topic. And I hope you'll join me there. Now I'm going to read to you from Psalm 36 and then the story. Your unfailing love, O Lord, is as vast as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches beyond the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountains, your justice like the ocean depths. Your care for people and animals alike, O Lord. How precious is your unfailing love, O God. All humanity finds shelter in the shadow of your wings. You feed them from the abundance of your own house, letting them drink from your river of delights. For you are the fountain of life, the light by which we see. Pour out your unfailing love on those who love you. As I've learned to spend time with God, I've learned to let him love me in that quiet place. And instead of living a life the way I used to, of having kind of a list of do's and don'ts, and if I do all these things, God's going to be pleased with me. And if I don't do all these things, then God's going to be pleased with me, and marking them off and having kind of a performance sort of attitude towards my relationship with God. I am so thankful that I have finally come to the place where I know it's actually in his presence where I walk more and more in his light and his love. And that changes who I am over time. And so, things that I used to do a few years ago, even last year, are not things that I say or do now, because as I spend time with him, he invites me into this place to become more like Jesus. Now, am I perfect? Of course not. Do I still need things changed in my heart? Absolutely. But over the years that I've been walking with Jesus, which has been a long time now, I have come to learn that as I spend time with him, I get to see the things that bring him delight. I get to revel in the things that bring him pleasure. And as I spend time with him, as I drink from the fountain of his life, which the scriptures encourage us to do, that's actually where I start to see light. So I'm going to just share a couple of stories, a few stories actually. A number of years ago, when I was first rededicated my life to the Lord, I did not have a great mouth, in the sense that it was very easy for me to cuss. And it wasn't like I spoke in vulgarity. It was more like, people just kind of littered, the people around me and myself littered kind of bad words, cuss words inside conversation. And most of the time I would use them to try to make people laugh. And I remember one day I was hanging out with a close friend of mine and I said, do you think that God minds that I use the F word? And she was like, oh no, it's no big deal or whatever. And obviously I had been thinking about it for a while and just wondering. And so as I went into church, I was actually had this in my heart, and I'm talking to God, and I'm like, God, I really want to know if it's okay for me to talk like this, if it offends you. And the very first worship song that they were playing was based on a psalm, and it was, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you. And as I spent time worshiping God in his presence, singing that song, his answer came to me no, he was not pleased with the way that I was speaking. Now, was he condemning me? No, but he was inviting me to a different way. And so it wasn't like I was able to change overnight, but I asked him for help with that. And over time, my, just cuss words naturally kind of got out of my vernacular. And I'm grateful for that. Kind of another example, I remember a number of years ago, there was a really popular show called Modern Family, and it was, really funny. It was a comedy, and I used to watch it with my roommate. And, I knew that there were things in that show that were ungodly. I knew that there were things that were not right. But I also, was like, okay, because I'm clear on that, well then, it's okay for me to watch it. And, I'm not here to communicate any kind of religiosity, but as I started talking to God about it and spending time with him, it was just really clear to me that things are glorified in that television show that the word of God clearly tells us is wrong. And so I gave up that show. And I remember actually I had even liked it so much that I had purchased it and put it into my iTunes library. And I deleted all of the ones that I had bought because I just knew that they were not holy and they were not something that was pleasing to God. Now, again, I'm not going to communicate my conviction to you. I'm just trying to share examples of things when I've spent time with God, realizing, gosh, this does not bring him pleasure, and giving it up would delight him. One last story I want to share. It's actually not mine. I heard it from John Paul Jackson. He once heard a story from a man whose son was seeing angels, and the father couldn't see them, but the young 4-year-old son could. And he didn't know why he couldn't see them. And so John Paul encouraged him the next time, if a time came when the boy saw an angel again, to tell the boy to ask the angel why he couldn't see them. And so the father did this. And when the child asked the angel why his dad could not see the angel responded with, "He has seen too much evil." And the man then said, "Gosh, can you ask him, will I ever be able to see?" And the little boy asked the angel, and then the little boy said to his dad, "Yes, but it will take some time," because that's how the angel had responded. And so as I think about wanting to see more of God's light, to be more aware of the spiritual realm around me and all that's going on in it, to be more aware of his holiness, I've asked God to help me just take delight in the things that he takes delight in, to be willing to let go of things that don't, and to know that it's actually his love and his light that brings this change. It's not me trying to measure up. It's not me trying to force something. Rather, it's allowing his love to wash over me. And as that happens, and as I start to delight in the things that he takes delight in, it's like those things just slip away. So I want to encourage you to spend time with God. Drink from the fountain of his life. And the fountain of his life is where you see light. And it's where change comes from, where we become more like Jesus. All right, I'm going to go ahead and link to that video that I mentioned at the start of this one. And I invite you to join me there. Happy New Year.